Bible with you or on your phone, you may want to turn with me to John chapter 12. There's my Bible. I wonder, can you remember a party that you've been to that was exceptional? An exceptional party, or maybe an exceptional dinner party. Just have a think. Can you remember one? I often think of one that came to my mind was not one that I went to, but has anybody seen the film Notting Hill? Notting Hill, and basically the bunch of friends. One of them turns up with an incredibly famous film star on his arm, and it's hilarious. It's a great scene. But I wonder, what would your dinner party? Best dinner party or weirdest dinner party? I went to a murder mystery one once, and we all had to be in character. I found it weird. I was like, oh no. And when I tried to not be in character, the person next to me was kind of, all sort of stayed in character and kind of reprimanded me whilst in character. Have you ever been to a dinner party where the host gets out the most amazing bottle of wine? Yeah. Have you ever done that? I have. It's just been wonderful. It's like they brought out like a 40 or 50 pound bottle of wine. It's just insane amount of money to spend on a bottle of wine, and you kind of hope it's going to taste that good. You really hope. Yeah. Just imagine you've gone to a dinner party, but imagine the host, instead of bringing out a 40 or 50 pound bottle of wine, they bring out a bottle of Liber Pater 2018. Now, you will know, obviously, that is the most expensive bottle of wine currently available. The most expensive bottle of wine ever sold for about £300,000. However, this particular vintage bottle it's available. You can just go and buy it. There's about 720 cases of it have been made, and it retails at £30,000 a bottle. It's a lot of money, isn't it, for a bottle of wine? Okay, so you're sat there at the dinner party, all right? And I wander out, okay, and I say, guys, special evening, I'm going to open this bottle of wine. And before you know it, I've gone, and I've said, oh, by the way, it costs £30,000 a bottle. What is your reaction? Just think about it a second. What's your reaction? How do you feel? Horrified. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Should we read the Bible together? Let's do that. Okay. John chapter 12. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus arrived at Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here, a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put into it. Leave her alone, Jesus replied. It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well, for on account of him, many of the Jews were going over to Jesus and putting their faith in him. Father God, thank you for your word. Thank you for this fantastic dinner party that we're going to explore together. We pray, Holy Spirit, that you would bring us understanding and revelation now. Amen. So this is a pretty weird dinner party, okay? That's been thrown in Jesus' honor. We're told that, and it's not only weird because of what happens. It's weird because of who's there. Okay, Lazarus is at the party. So I now want you to imagine your dinner party and imagine that Lazarus is there. Okay, he was dead for 4 days. 4 days dead. Okay, people tour the world after having. Anybody seen Jellyfish Man? Yeah? Yeah, he's got an amazing story. He was dead for something like 30 minutes, something like that. And he tours the world and tells people about how he basically, what it was like when he was dead and, how he met Jesus. And it's phenomenal. He was 30 minutes. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. What would you want to ask Lazarus? Well, you've gone to a dinner party and Lazarus is there. I think it's amazing. You think, I'd like to. What were you conscious of anything? Did you see any bright light or anything? What would you ask him? We're told that we're told that it's in honor of Jesus, so it's probably a celebration. Could even be a thank you to Jesus for raising Lazarus. We're told that Martha served while Mary sat at Jesus' feet. So this is a good party, right? Because Martha is serving. She was the queen of the hostesses. She was amazing. We're told, when we see Martha, we don't see Martha that much, but like about 3 times, I think. But she is the arch server. She's the queen of serving. So I think this is going to be an amazing dinner party. And then at some point during the dinner party, Mary takes a pint of perfume, right? So how much is that? That's probably about 400 ml, which is, so it's about 2/3 of a pint, maybe 4/5, something like that. So that's a lot of perfume. Anybody put that much on when they go out? I was teaching Jem, he had his prom and stuff. He's 18, my son, and I was like, put some cologne on, and I've taught him well. He put a bit on his wrist, screw up next, a little bit. Can you imagine really chucking it on a pint of the stuff? She takes a pint of perfume and she pours it over Jesus' feet. Not on his pulse points on his neck and his wrist, over his feet. She pours it over his feet. And then she wipes it with her hair. Yeah. Now her hair was not like my hair. Okay. She would have had a lot of hair. Lots of it. And it wasn't just the perfume. She's violated customs. Women wouldn't have sat at a man's feet in those days. She wouldn't have had her hair down. She'd have had her hair up. And she certainly wouldn't have wiped him, let alone his feet. It seems it's quite a private, intimate act that we're witnessing and that all the other people were witnessing as well. And this act, it stunned everyone. Everyone there was utterly stunned. John, in the account that we read, he only tells us about Judas. But Matthew and Mark tell us about all the disciples, that all the disciples were indignant. They're like, what's going on? It stunned them. Now, Judas is mainly indignant, right? He's kind of like, that's outrageous. He's faux pious. He's like fake piety. He said that money could have gone to the poor. What he really means is, I could have used that for a deposit on a house. That's what we're all thinking with that bottle of wine, isn't it? Oh no, that could have been a great holiday, a car, that was an astonishing holiday. Well, although there are 5 of us in my family, and you didn't go anywhere without the baggage. So, Um, he's not really thinking about the poor. It's fake compassion. And Jesus calls it out. He says, you're always going to have the poor with you. Now, that might seem callous, but it's not. Jesus is just quoting scripture. He's quoting Deuteronomy 15:11. Jesus' subtext is, he says, you're always going to have the poor with you. His subtext is, Judas, don't use fake compassion to criticize Mary. The law commands kindness for the poor, and you'll always have to care for them. There's nothing stopping you giving your money to the poor right now. So, what can we learn from this story? Well, first thing, Mary was extravagant, wasn't she? I think we can all agree that was quite an extravagant gift. So the £30,000 bottle of wine, it was great that when I Googled the most expensive bottle of wine, that it comes to about £30,000, because that is roughly today's equivalent of what that pint of perfume is worth. We're told it was a year's worth of wages. Average person's year of wages, these is about between 25 and 30,000 in the UK. That's how much. That's extravagant, to give my whole annual salary. I wonder where Mary got it from. We don't get the idea that Mary was rich or influential or anything. I wonder if that was maybe an inheritance, and she used it. Extravagance, though, is in the eye of the beholder. Extravagance is in the eye of the beholder. Leonardo DiCaprio spent £400,000 renting a boat for a week to go around sailing. That's an insane amount of money. £400,000. Not just a deposit for my house. I could have bought a house with that. Is it extravagant to him, though? It's extravagant to me, but is it extravagant to him? Probably not. He's worth 220 million. So £400,000, not a big deal. In 2014, a 1962 Ferrari GTO sold for £34 million. That's extravagant. You'd think that was extravagant. I suspect, though, the person that bought it thought it was a good investment. And then there's the story of the $1 million bottle of perfume. The $1 million I think most of it goes on the bottle. The bottle contains 183 sapphires, 2,700 white diamonds, 15 pink diamonds, a 3-carat ruby, a 4-carat diamond, and various assorted other gems. All told, the bottle contains 2,909 precious stones that were fashioned to resemble the New York City skyline. And the process took nearly 1,500 hours to complete. $1 million bottle of perfume. That seems a bit extravagant, doesn't it? But what seems extravagant to one doesn't for another. Extravagance is in the eye of the beholder. We think it's extravagant as we look at it. However, the person who does it probably doesn't think it's quite so extravagant. What do we learn from that? Well, first of all, let's not judge. But I wonder, what would extravagance look like for me? How can I be more extravagant in demonstrating my love for Jesus, in my worship of him? Mary wasn't trying to be extravagant. She wasn't trying to make a statement. She was just doing what came naturally to her. So what would extravagance look like? Maybe financial. Maybe lifestyle, maybe time, maybe. You fill in the blank. The question is, what would extravagance look like in demonstrating our love for Jesus? Mary was extravagant. Second, Mary sat at Jesus' feet. A commentator called Warren Wiersbe comments. He says, whenever we see Mary, she is always sitting at Jesus' feet. Luke 10, she wants to hear the words of the Lord. John 11, she wants to experience the works of the Lord. John 12, She wants to declare the worth of the Lord. She didn't come to eat the meal. She didn't come to fellowship with the others. She didn't come to ask a question. She didn't come to listen. She came to give her best to Jesus. Love that. Mary understands something that the other disciples haven't got. There were 4 groups of people who were anointed in the Old Testament. They were the kings, the prophets, the priests, and the dead. Those are the 4 groupings of people who were anointed. Jesus already fits the first 3, the king, the prophet, and the priest. He will soon fit the 4th, the dead. Mary's act is prophetic. Whether she knows it or not, she performs an incredibly prophetic act. And it comes from sitting at Jesus' feet. That kind of prophetic act, that kind of prophetic gift, that kind of message only comes from sitting at Jesus' feet. What do I learn? Do I want to be more prophetic? Do I want to have a more prophetic voice? Do I want greater understanding? Do I need my love rekindled? Do I need an increase in my devotion? Am I struggling with my faith? Am I dissatisfied with my discipleship? I need to sit at Jesus' feet. Mary was extravagant. She sat at Jesus' feet. Mary's friends thought she was nuts. Judas challenged what she did out of greed. He was doing it out of greed. Simple as that. His love of money blinded him to any sort of understanding. The two are in stark contrast. He can't understand. He's blinded because his love of money. She has just given, a year's worth of wages poured over Jesus' feet out of her love for him. Matthew and Mark are clear that it's not just Judas that challenged. The others didn't get it for all different sorts of reasons, I'm sure. But radical love is rarely understandable. It's rare that we understand and completely get radical love. The kind of love that leads people to do crazy things. We have love stories, don't we? I love hearing the stories of how people proposed to their intended spouse. Generally it's the fella, and I really enjoy stories of proposals. They're great fun, aren't they? Because sometimes people do some crazy things in order to impress, in order to get the message over. I'm a complete sucker for a rom-com. Love a romantic comedy. I'm more of a sucker though for a reconciliation movie. Honestly, I start weeping or I well up when there's kind of reconciliation that goes on, especially father-son reconciliation. Anyone seen Home Alone? Yeah? Just a beautiful thing with the neighbor. Yeah, that story with it. And it's a little sideshow in the movie. Gets me every single time. Love it. That kind of love. But the kind of love also that leads people to do crazy things, like going off to a developing country to serve people, like taking aid into a war zone, like living in an alien culture, all because Jesus asks you to. Radical love is rarely understandable. So, what do I learn? I wonder if my life is a little bit too easy to understand by the world. I wonder if I'm a bit too understandable. If my friends don't question my actions or my choices, am I playing it a bit too safe? What risks would God have me take? Mary's extravagant. She sits at Jesus' feet. Her friends thought she was nuts. And Mary's worship shakes things up. Her worship shakes things up. So it's no coincidence, right, that honestly, they're too close, aren't they? Tongue twister. No coincidence that Judas chooses this moment to speak up and cause a fuss, right? The devil hates extravagant worship, and he stirs Judas up to change the subject. Whenever people are extravagant in worship, the devil likes to stir things up. When the wise men bring extravagant gifts to Jesus, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, it's extravagant not just in what they bring, but in the fact that they've traveled from a distant country for a long period of time, or because they've seen a star. When they come in extravagant worship, Herod sets out to kill all the baby boys. When David dances before the Lord, when he gets almost naked, just wearing an ephod, whatever that was, and he is extravagant in his worship, his wife despises him in her heart. And that's pretty much the beginning of the end of their marriage. Instead of Jesus being the center, suddenly it's the money. Instead of Jesus being the center of that gathering and the object of worship, Judas takes it away. He steals the subject. The subject is the money. The devil will do whatever he can to stop our worship. He hates it that much. He'd much rather that we argued about where we spend the money or whatever the latest point of doctrine is. So, what do we learn? Well, like the song says, this is how we fight our battles. Whatever your battle is this morning, you'll only win it by sitting at Jesus' feet, not worrying about what your friends think, and being extravagant in your worship. Shall we pray?